fingers, hoping YouTube will connect. Yay! It's Cozy Mystery Day, and the Agatha Christie thumbnail just popped up. Oh,
Woo!
I'm really hoping that everything's going well right now, technology-wise, and if there's any issues, let me know in the comments. But I am so happy and so honored to be with these two incredible women, and both of y'all have actually heard me talk about them before because they participated with previous book club activities, 12 Days of Cozies. Kate was one of the guests when we discussed, oh my gosh, I almost blanked on Jennifer J. Chow's name. We were talking about Jennifer J. Chow, whom you love the book for. Mindy, she had one of my favorite, I loved her Instagram live this year for 12 Days of Cozies. It was just such a fun event. She's so entertaining, and I'm going to pull up both of their information. Everything is down in the description box, so if you're not currently following these incredible women, please do. I'm going to be showcasing them tonight as well. With the Agatha Christie. I don't know if you just heard the little dog barking in the background, but I will apologize in advance because that is Daisy May, and she knows I'm excited. She's like, Mom has balloons. She was here when I was filling these up, so she's probably wondering, okay, I don't get to play with them now. Things are happening. But I'm going to ask Mindy to introduce herself first. Let's see. Can I pull up her? Yes, we have her lovely bio here. But would you like to introduce yourself for readers who might not be familiar with you and your work?
Sure. I also have a very small yappy dog, so there could be some excitement on our end too tonight. We'll have the readers play, or the listeners play the guess whose dog is yapping game. So I'm Mindy Quigley, and I write the Deep Dish Mysteries. So we are now almost 5 books into the series. So At Death's Door, which is the 5th book, comes out in just a month from now. But these are fun, funny, lighthearted cozies. They're set in an upscale pizzeria in a slightly fictionalized version of a real place in Wisconsin. So this is a resort town that took off after the Great Chicago Fire, where all of these Chicago captains of industry, like the Wrigley family and the Vicks family, set up these gigantic, very fabulous mansions, many of which are still there, and you can still tour. So that's the setting. And then we have Delilah O'Leary, who's a very hard-charging protagonist, and her feline sidekick, Butterball, who's just a cat. He doesn't have any magical abilities. He doesn't talk, but sadly. And he still, though, manages to get involved in the mysteries every time. There's always a Butterball subplot that relates directly to the mysteries. And she's dating handsome detective Calvin Capone, who is the great-grandson of Al Capone, because the real place that this series is based on has a lot of those deep mobster ties to the old Chicago mob. So those are the books, and yeah, they're a lot of fun to write, and there will be at least one more in that series.
Oh, and fingers crossed for additional titles after that. I would love to do a buddy read of the rest of the series because people absolutely loved Deep Dish when we read it for the book club. I will link it down below in the description box with the YouTube live stream, but people really enjoyed the book. So did I. So I'm fingers crossed that more titles will come after that. And we also read Kate with Killer Chardonnay. That was probably one of the very first millennial cozy mysteries I read that I absolutely fell in love with. And we had that live stream ages ago, but I'll still talk about it every so often because it's still one of my favorite books. Kate Lansing, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself and your lovely winemaking. Parker, she's a winemaker. She owns a winery. Your winemaking cozies.
Sounds great. Can I just say too, At Death's Door is one of my favorite new punny titles of
she has great titles.
So it's so good. I love it. Agatha Christie would be proud.
Even Ashes to Ashes, Crust to Crust, that made me so happy the first time I read that. Even the book covers too. At Death's Door, the heart-shaped pizza. I love her book covers. I don't know who your cover designer is, but she does a fabulous job for you.
There's actually, babe, I'll send you the link that the cover designer was just interviewed for Criminal Element. So she talks about this cover and how it came to be. And they switched illustrators after book 4. So At Death's Door is a new cover illustrator because Marianne Lasher, our wonderful illustrator, retired. So she's still doing, I think she's still doing Ellie Alexander's series just because she's done that for so long, but she is retired now. So they got a new illustrator. But I think he managed to capture the essence of the series. And I really loved what they did with the heart-shaped pizza with the knife.
That's really impressive, though, because it has the same thematic illustrations with the kind of brush strokes. They very much captured it was very consistent. I never would have known unless you actually told me that.
The only thing that we had to push back, my editor and I, a little bit was Butterball, that the cat just didn't look like himself. And I had to go back and be like, okay, now more white there, and he's plumper, and the ears, like,
well, that's the thing. Butterball is a butterball, so he can't be a very in shape, athletic looking cat.
Yeah, no, I needed to make some tweaks on Butterball to make sure he fit my vision. But other than that, I thought they totally nailed it.
Well, I mean, both of you have cat cozy mysteries, which is so funny. You have a dog, I have a dog, but yeah, both of you have cats in your cozies. I'm going to go back to Kate and ask you to introduce your series as well. Yeah. I don't want to, we have to talk about Parker.
Yes. I write the Colorado Wine Mystery Series, and it takes place in Colorado, in Boulder. The protagonist, Parker Valentine, has a dream to open her own winery. And of course, in the first book, on opening day, that does not go as planned. The critic who comes to review her ends up dead. And for mysterious reasons that Parker then starts to investigate. And the series sort of progresses. It follows Parker and company in each of the stories. And she ends up in different, situations and throughout as well. I love adding a little bit of romance. And so there is a little bit of romance with a hot chef that works in a restaurant down the street. And yeah, so it is wine paired with crime, I guess, is the Colorado Wine Mystery Series. And there's cats. You can see there's cats on each cover. And I inadvertently added a new cat in each book. And not that Parker owns 4 cats at the end. It's like other ones. Like the third book takes place at a Colorado ski resort. And so there's a resort cat. But you'll see there's like, she has her cat named Zin, short for Zinfandel.
Which I also, so today I did a word search. I don't know if both of you have seen it yet, but the email newsletter, I included a very special word search just for you guys and your series. So all of the words are taken from that. So I do have Zinfandel as one of the words in the word search.
I love that so much.
I saw that. You're the cutest. It's just, it was so cute. Your newsletters are great. I love.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to do something to honor both of you for joining me for this. I mean, this is a glorious holiday. I mean, most people don't realize today is such a holiday. Agatha Christie's birthday, Cozy Mystery Day, and I love both of your series. So I want to do something special to say thank you for doing this tonight. And I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
Yes.
Excited to be here. This is awesome.
So, I mean, obviously, Cozy Mystery Day, both of you cozy mystery authors, I have to ask, what got you interested in cozy mysteries? Because you guys really do have, I really enjoy your series because you hit all of the cozy markers that I'm looking for as a reader. You keep me entertained, you keep me guessing. So what is it that drew you to cozy mysteries in the first place? Was there a particular book or author that piqued your interest?
My story is so shameful. I feel like, Kate, you have to go first, and then I'll tell my story of shame.
Okay. Well, I love cozies. I started reading them when I was younger because my mom is an avid reader. And so she always had Agatha Christie on the bookshelves. And so read those. I read the Lady Emily series, was the first early one. That's a historical cozy. And then, I think as I was dabbling with writing, now I'm a math person by trade. And so, but I've always loved books and writing and reading. And when I was first starting out, I read a series called Headlines and High Heels by Lindy Walker. And that was my first millennial, hip new cozy series. And I absolutely ate it up and I loved it. And I thought, I want to do something like this. I'm so inspired. And I was working my day job. And I had this, and I work in like corporate America, kind of cute farm-ish. Different world now, but back then. And I had this idea for a cozy that was sort of The Office meets Agatha Christie. And so with Lindy Walker as sort of inspiration, I started writing that. And that book got me an agent, did not sell, but then it was after that, I got the idea for Parker and the winery and wrote that series, and that's sort of how I got into it. But I love cozies. I love, like you said, there's all of these, it's kind of cool. I don't want to say rules because that makes it sound more limiting than it is, but it's like all of these genre things. Like it's a puzzle, but without the gore and the stuff happening on page that I just really, really love the genre. And so that's what led me to write cozies.
Oh, I love that answer.
So I call them guardrails instead of rules because I feel like they're the guardrails that keep my imagination from going a crazy place. Because I have like a wild imagination, and sometimes I'm like, what if we put a vampire? You know, it's like, don't put a vampire.
Like different series, a new book over there.
So that
Story
helps
later.
me kind of like keep on track. But so my shameful story of cozies is that I read a lot of Agatha Christie and Nancy Drew, like many of us who end up writing mysteries that, you know, love these puzzle books and, you know, love the characters. So that's always what I wanted to write. And I wrote a series of 3 books in this Lindsay Harding Chaplin series. So it's The Murder in Mount Moriah is the first one.
Wait a second, I got the image. I have it. There it is.
So those are the first 3 books that I wrote. And I did not realize that I was writing cozy mysteries. I just started to write a mystery, and my natural writing voice is humorous. So that's kind of like what those are. They're like a traditional mystery that's got humor in it. And I did not really know at that point that I was violating a lot of the conventions of cozies, because I wasn't that familiar with the genre. So then I got through Lindy Walker. This is like, I'm going to have to send this to her because it's like an insane small world connection. Through Lindy Walker, I found out that her agent heard that St. Martin's was looking for a writer for hire for a new cozy series set in a pizzeria. So I got in touch with him and found out a little bit more about it. And he's like, yeah, you know, if you want to pitch for it, send me the pitch and I'll pass it on. So I did. And I was thinking, well, I'm from Chicago, so I'm going to do like hard Chicago. I'm going to do all of the Chicago things. And I was frantically, as I was putting that pitch together, devouring Vivian Chen's Noodle Shop series and Ellie Alexander's Bake Shop series, because I'm like, I need to figure out how to write a cozy, because I knew the books that I liked were, you know, Agatha Christie. I like Julia Spencer Fleming, who writes another series that has a minister as the sleuth. And those are cozy-ish, but again, they kind of violate some of the rules of cozy, and they're much more in that traditional mystery category. So I needed to figure out how to rein things in. And even in that pitch, you know, the editor loved it. She was super enthusiastic, but she was like, ooh, this would make some of my cozy readers really clutch their pearls. Like, I was like, oh, for me, that's kind of mild.
Well, maybe you are more in line with Agatha Christie, because I'm kind of utterly fascinated by this woman. I mean, so every book behind me, I'm in front of my Agatha Christie collection over here. So I love Agatha Christie and I love my cozy mysteries. And she obviously gave us the foundation for the subgenre, but she can definitely go a little darker. So she might have given us the basics for cozy mysteries, but they've definitely evolved since Agatha Christie's day. When I hear you say something like that, I'm thinking, oh, maybe she's going a little bit down on the spectrum of Agatha versus the lighthearted, fun Hallmark. So maybe
it's you know, when you read those, or Dorothy Sayers, which is another Golden Age of Mystery series, that, you know, people are like snorting cocaine to go to a party, you know, just like to pregame kind of like that. You know, things were wild back in the Golden Age of Mysteries. And I think that, you know, we think of the past as being like a naturally more buttoned up time, but you really see that it was not, you know, in so many ways. There was like the socially acceptable layer, but then below that, you know, there was hard drugs, there was a lot of out of wedlock sex, you know, there's a lot of shady things happening in those books for sure.
Which modern day cozies don't really do anymore. I tried to incorporate some of the definition or expectations for today, talking about celebrating Cozy Mystery Day, and it's no swearing, no graphic violence of any kind. You stumble upon the body versus the violence on the act, you know, playing out on the page. There's no on the page sex. And of course, you guys have animals in your cozy mysteries. You can't injure the dog. You can't hurt the cat. The animal must be sacred and held. I mean, that is the biggest deal breaker for cozy mysteries. Nothing can happen to the animals for me, but even the amateur sleuth. So I'm going to pull up his image. So I absolutely love Perot. He is my favorite Agatha Christie creation, but he's technically not an amateur sleuther, which is what the requirement for Cozy Mysteries. So he's a professional. He's a private investigator after being on the force. So even Perot is not really technically Cozy Mysteries, even though he has cozy vibes. We kind of give her the cozy mystery basics foundation when she started Miss Marple. So that's probably where we see more of the cozy mystery elements coming from that transcend from her time to our time. But definitely they could go a little bit darker too. Miss Marple had, when you say pearl clutching, I think Miss Marple was clutching her pearls and her knitting needles.
Absolutely. You know, and it's something that I've really feel as a writer that it's my job to be in a contract with the reader that they are not going to be unpleasantly surprised by the content of my books. Like I really want to make sure that the genre expectations are going to be met. Like if you're buying a Happy Meal, like you don't want to open it up and there's like a whole roasted salmon in there. Like maybe you like salmon and maybe that's fine. But that's not the contract that you make when you buy a Happy Meal. And I think like for me, like that boundary pushing is just like, I'm going to be like, but have you tried it with the tangy barbecue sauce? You dip your fries in it, like that's all that I'm going to try to do is just like a little bit of like a little twist just to kind of like push that a teensy bit. And I feel like, especially Agatha Christie, like I'm amazed. I've heard that she kind of got sick of Poirot after a while, after writing so many books about him. And I never want to feel that way. Like I always want to leave myself that little tangy barbecue sauce that I feel like I can still do something fun and inventive, even within the confines of the genre.
One of my favorite things with Agatha Christie was her invention of Ariadne Oliver, the little fictional version of Agatha Christie talking about, oh, here's a famous writer. And she had a Finnish detective instead of the Belgian detective. And she's talking about how much she hates writing him, how she's tired of writing him. She wishes that she'd changed where he was from. And to actually put that in context is hysterical. To actually realize this woman was either contractually obligated for monetary purposes, but she kept writing him. I mean, this is very much like the Sherlock Holmes of he killed him off and now he brought him back. She tried to do stuff to Perot. I mean, it wasn't until the curtain call, but she really she wanted to do some things to my little man. I mean, his little twirly mustache was almost gone. I mean, as authors, how do you keep it interesting so that you love your cozy mystery sleuthers? Because both of you, I love your sleuthers. I love how capable they are. I love that they're intelligent, they're quirky, but in a fun way with their humors. Like they're very humorous. They're also cat lovers. So when there's an animal lover involved, you immediately also are just, oh, you love animals. I love you too. So they also have their own careers. They're also entrepreneurs. They own their own businesses. So how do you keep it interesting so that you love writing them?
Yeah, I think something that is really interesting about Agatha Christie too is Perot isn't the narrator in all, like, right? So like Hastings and like, so for me, it's like we have the opportunity to really dig into our protagonists' heads. Usually cozy mysteries these days are told from the amateur sleuth's point of view. And so we can get into the character arcs that might be a little bit broader and might be more personal. And so you can do the interpersonal arcs, like Parker challenges herself and has something small to overcome in each book, and yet there's still kind of this overarching one throughout the series, which is where like romance is kind of handy for that, right? So like book 1 they may kiss, but like book 2 they like have to keep going in the relationship. And I think that's something that helps me, is having those arcs where Parker still has something to learn in each book. And it's both a smaller arc, but then also maybe hints at that broader spectrum. And I think that's something that would be really tough with somebody like Perot. Perot is a retired detective, right? Like what does he want for? He gets his eggs every morning at breakfast. He gets everything just so. And like, sometimes I feel like he's being begged to get into the investigation. People are like, please, please help us. Whereas for our characters, a lot of the time, they don't have a choice. They are compelled to investigate for, just for personal reasons, and they have so much at stake. So that's something I think that keeps it interesting.
That's very true. I'm nodding because I love the stories where they're going, I'll pay you any amount of money, and he's going, but is it interesting enough? Oh yes, you're offering me all this money, but it's not interesting enough for Perot. And he talks about himself in the third person, which I also love. But yeah, your Sleuther, the very first book, it's opening day, and things really went astray for her very quickly. So it's either solve the mystery or lose my business. So definitely the stakes are pretty high versus, hey, I have a case over here and a case over here. Which one do you want?
Yeah, for me, I think I take a lot of lessons from series like Cleo Coyle's Coffee Shop Mysteries, which are on, book 9 billion now and still very fresh. And I like how she destabilizes things partway through. I say she, it's actually a husband and wife, they.
Mark and Alice.
Yes, how they destabilize things by, once the love interest is kind of settled, they have him recruited by, I think, the FBI. Is that right? He has to go to DC, so he has to leave. And now they're a long distance relationship, so he's not there as much. And that kind of changes the dynamics. So I could totally see, if my series kept going, like doing something like that, where we create those foundational relationships and then we send, maybe I've always thought like it would be fun to send Melody off on kind of a Sabrina-esque mission, not Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but the classic Audrey Hepburn Sabrina, where she's the chauffeur's daughter and she goes abroad to Paris and becomes very glamorous and fashionable. And then both these rich brothers are after her, whereas previously they ignored her. And I thought that would be a kind of a fun character arc for her, just like take her out and bring her back.
Can we please do that? Can you guarantee that? Because that sounds like an epic story that I want to read tomorrow night. I want to do that.
Yeah, so it's funny because like whenever I think I might be out of ideas, I'll be like, oh, well, I mean, I guess I could do this. And I'm like, actually, I really want to do that. So I think this series could go for forever. But those kinds of things. And then I think Ellie Alexander does a good job with travel. That now I think, is it her next one? They're going to Costa Rica or something. So just putting them in a different setting means that you're not going to have your usual cast of supporting characters. And Donna Andrews, Meg Langslow's series kind of has that built in the earlier books, although now they're a little bit more subtle. They've got like 1,000 pets and 100 kids, and it's harder to just swan off somewhere. Oh, swan, there's a Donna Andrews pun. But yeah, I think for me, like that's what I would probably want to do to keep it fresh, is just put things in there that are kind of fundamentally destabilizing, to see what that does to the characters.
See, we also love the characters and want to protect them, though. I'm wearing my Agatha Christie bracelet, so if you hear any clinking, that's what's going on. So for Agatha Christie Day, I'm wearing my Agatha Christie bracelet. So every time I talk with my hands, and I feel like one of the audio things is going to be making a little, sounds. So like just to clarify what the jingle and jangle is. But
love it.
I love your sleuth. Like you love your sleuthers. I love your sleuthers, and so you have to put them in uncomfortable situations, though, which is. I mean, these are your babies. There's kill your darlings, but then there's also, hey, I'm going to put you in mortal jeopardy, or hey, you might go to prison if you don't solve this mystery. So you kind of have to be not vicious, but you have to be sort of willing to do things to them.
Oh, yeah. And then you can't resolve anything until you've got to have 5-10 pages left of the story before you can start resolving things. It has to wait until that bitter end, and then you can do all of the little happy ever after. But yeah, you torture them up until almost the bitter end, right? But then you get the payoff. I hope everybody gets that payoff. The payoff at the end of the happy ever after is always so much more worthwhile when they've been tortured. When
they've been tortured, they've earned that happily ever after.
Yes. Yeah.
But both of your books, my personal reader heart, you were talking about the different books that you've read, and we've touched on the cozy tropes. Both of you did something that I very much appreciated. There was no love triangle, at least not really. We kind of already know. So Kate had a little bit of a baby one where you're going, okay, he kind of has a crush on her, but he was kind of immediately friend zoned, so it was okay. There's a certain series that has been going on with the love triangle for, say now 20 books. But both of you, I knew who the love interest was. I was able to fall into their relationship and root for them and understand them versus going, am I Team Norman? Oh, I'm not Team Norman anymore. And now you just figured out which series I'm referring to. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I liked that there was no love triangle. So is that deliberate? Did you think about that? Or did you just know, okay, I'm going to have one love interest, or we're going to have one central romantic relationship and grow from there? Because personally, I very much appreciate appreciated the lack of a love triangle.
When I pitched my series, I had a love triangle in it. So I pitched it with a love triangle, and I planned to do a love triangle. And then as I wrote it, I realized the way, so that the romance is such a tiny part of what's going on in each book that it would take, I just didn't feel like there was enough breathing room if I added another character for the main relationship to really develop. And it's something that I learned from my first series where I did add a love triangle element in. And I was like, gosh, I don't like, especially with a character like Delilah, the more I wrote her and the more I got to know her, I thought she's an incredibly loyal person. She's just like somebody who decides, these are my friends, I will do anything for them, I'm going to stick with them. And I can't imagine her just, being so fickle in love, that she kind of like makes a decision and she's very black and white in her thinking. So as I got to know her better, that seemed to make less sense. And then as I was moving the romantic plot, I was already in book 2 and I'm like, have they even kissed yet? Like we're this is really kind of a slow relationship. And again, that the characters drove that because I set up this scenario where Delilah, by the end of the second book, is living with her aunt and her aunt's caregiver. And then Capone lives with his mother and his granddaughter. They both have like these super complicated family relationships. And I thought, okay, they're busy people. She's a chef. He's a detective. I know people who have those jobs and they're never home. How would they possibly, have a house with other people in it and these incredibly demanding jobs and then also be juggling multiple partners? Like they're lucky if they can fit in one date per week, much less, have a side piece.
Side piece. I like that you stayed true to your character and you thought about the feasibility of it, but also there's that practical sense of cozy mysteries have the limited set of characters. You're going, I really don't need another character, and that's probably more cozy mystery driven when you think of it that way. Like the fewer characters, the better.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to muddy the plot.
Unless they're going to be another suspect, right? That's always
Or all of a sudden they're the bad guy and it comes out of nowhere. The red herrings threw you off and he's a surprise. But I'm going to ask, so Kate, what about you? What about your romantic relationship?
Yeah, so I always envisioned, so Reed is the love interest and he's a chef. And I always envisioned it would be fun when you have the wine and you have the food and they're often paired together. And so I thought there was something really cute and metaphorical about that. And I wanted to keep that going. And my editor agreed. And that's always nice. And so I do introduce the detective. And the detective in the first book went to high school with Parker. So they have this sort of history. And he was like a bad boy in high school. Like he was not going to be a cop. And so like they had this fun history where she remembered him very different than how he ended up. And he does end up asking her out at the end. But I just kind of meant it to be something, I think with detectives in cozies, when you have the amateur sleuth working with the detective, there has to be, I like it when there's some relationship there. I don't just want the cozy amateur sleuth to say like, I know everything and the detective is dumb and like I didn't want to go that route. And so I wanted to do something a little different. And so that led to Eli, and he does ask Parker out at the end, but I tried to make it pretty clear that like, no, Parker kind of likes this other guy and they have this thing going and they're going to do the like pairing food and wine. And like, I even had recipes at the end of each of the books. That was sort of like, I think a nod to that. So yeah, never intended to be a triangle, although there were hints of it. And some people were worried that's where it was going. And it never went there. It was always Reed.
It was always him. Although I will say I did like the eventual friend zone character. I was rooting for him a little bit, and I'm going, he needs his own happily ever after, even if it's not with her. I love this character, though. I was also thinking, okay, she can never kill him. He has to be protected at all costs. The little cinnamon bun that he is.
He does meet someone in book 4. That was really fun, because I really like Eli. I was like, I really want him to get like the happy ever after. So yeah. Same.
Oh, I just got this comment pop up. Welcome to Cozy Mystery Day.
I saw that too.
I'm so glad you love Agatha Christie. We do too.
Like somebody just like stumbles into the wrong party room and they're like, but this looks like a pretty cool party, so I'm gonna stay.
Yes, this is where the Agatha Christie and cozy mystery love is existing right now. This has been my day. I am so excited for tonight. So I'm just going to change the angle a little bit. So I have my balloons and we have a crown here because she's the queen of cozies. And we have the cupcake to celebrate her birthday. We have all of the Agatha Christie behind me, and I'm wearing my Agatha Christie pullover. So the Mysterious Affair at Styles Court. So I'm going for it. I even made little barrettes with Agatha Christie book titles on them. I don't know if you can see them, but I really was trying to embrace all the Agatha Christie for tonight.
Cozy queen. Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
I saw Jay with the comment. Yes, I even have the mug. I was determined. Everything is on Agatha Christie tonight. I love her. So got to do something special.
Absolutely.
Angela, I truly think you have more hours in the day than I do because I just don't know like how you get it all done. You know, my newsletter is like, here are 3 things that I managed to cobble together. We were joking before about our bookshelves because Angela's is like all themed and very aesthetic, and like mine is a hot mess.
I don't think it's a hot mess though. I mean, I just absolutely, so these books are very precious to me. They're my Agatha Christie, but so they're a gift from my mother. I went to London with my mom this year to celebrate her birthday. So she actually bought me some first edition Agatha Christie. So I'm very proud of them. And I'm like, I need to keep them safe and away from where the dog can get them. So I have that right there. We have some trivia cards. So this is my Agatha Christie selection. So this one is organized because it's Agatha. There's another bookcase over here that's romance novels, and it is not as organized. I'm very honest. There's a reason why I'm not in front of that one when I do filming most of the time. That one's a little bit more the dog likes the fake flowers and she'll pull them, and so the color coding has gone a little astray, to say the least. Oh, thank you. I'm seeing the comments come up. You guys are so sweet. Oh, thank you. I know. I actually went, so this is again my level of Agatha Christie love as I'm opening this up. So we actually have a full container of Agatha Christie barrettes to choose from because I was trying to figure out like, okay, which one is going to be best for tonight? So then I started designing them based on the book covers. So this was going on for probably several weeks leading up to the live stream. Again, I was so excited that we were doing this tonight. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to do everything I can for Agatha and for these lovely ladies taking time out of their day to discuss this.
That is incredible. Those are so cute. I love them.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. That makes me so happy. But anyway, so if you're still here and you just thank you. I do know how to celebrate when it comes to Agatha Christie. When it comes to other things in life, that's questionable. But Agatha Christie, that I've got. That I know. But thank you so much. But I'm so happy that you guys are here talking about your books because you're also talking about how much you enjoy you're dropping in the titles that you're also reading. So you mentioned Cleo Coyle, Ellie Alexander. So there are a lot of books that you yourselves are reading and enjoying. Again, Kate, I know you love Jennifer J. Chow, who is also a phenomenal author. I love her too. So, I mean, I also love Cleo Coyle. Whenever they have a new book come out, I immediately am just auto buying. And same thing when Alice has her own book or even the other series that Cleo Coyle had. So who are you reading for your cozy mysteries? Who are your go-to authors or your favorite cozy mystery series where you're going, I need the next book in this series right now because I need to know what happens next?
So I brought some. I thought you might ask. So this one is like off the beaten track. It is called An Embarrassment of Itches by M.K. Dean. And I discovered this at my local bookstore and found out that this woman actually lives like in my town. She's a veterinarian. And this book, if you like animal cozies, I just cannot recommend this highly enough because the animals in this are so specific to like even the breeds. And I worked in the vet school for many years. So like I know a lot of animal breeds quite well and their characteristics. And she just nails it. And the narration is hilarious. Just absolutely love this book, An Embarrassment of Itches. And this is a 3-book series. There might be more. But yeah, if you like a funny book and you like an animal cozy, highly recommend. I'm a sucker for historical cozies. And this is Catherine Shellman's A Body in the Garden, her Lily Adler series. she's got a great 1920s series, and that's actually how I came to her writing, because we did an event together, a prohibition-themed event, because one of my books is set at a prohibition-themed cocktail party, and she just came out with this prohibition book. So that got me reading that series, and I just really liked her writing. And I love Mary Winters also has like a Regency cozy series, and that these are great. The main character is super plucky, but it doesn't do anything that I find ahistorical, or like, you know, sometimes when the heroine is like so out of keeping with the time period, you're just like, come on now, like that person probably would not exist. They would be in jail. She manages to flout conventions.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes. Yes. Like, and she, you know, she talks about like the when she flouts convention, she's researched it well enough that she's like, this is how I'm going to get around it without creating a gigantic scandal. And yeah, really love her writing. And then my all-time favorite is another historical. Elizabeth C. Bunce writes a series for children called the Myrtle Hardcastle series. There are 5 books in the series. They're for middle grade readers. And I am not ashamed to admit that is my favorite cozy series. I just love that protagonist. It's like a cozier version of Alan Bradley's Flavia de Luce series, and funnier. Oh my gosh, it's funny as all get out. You can tell that I like funny books, but those are my recommendations for like, I like historicals. So there are 2 historicals in there. And then I like books that I think do snark well and do animals well. So
I actually haven't read those titles. And again, I am very well versed in the world of cozy mysteries. I love that you chose books that are different and not always being featured on Bookstagram or Book Talk. I'm like, okay, I need to add these to my TBR because I respect your opinion. I'm like, I need to add these and read these.
I love that that's why I picked them though, because I was like, everybody knows Cleo Coyle. Like, of course I can say this is great, but everybody knows that. Like, I wanted to pick a few that were a little bit off the beaten track that people might not have heard of, that are just.
I love that. I appreciate that. I love that. I mean, it's also really nice that you're shouting out authors who, I mean, you're shining the sleuthing spotlight upon them. I mean, that's so nice to do that. So, I mean, I'm like thanking you on their behalf. I'm like, I need to read these titles now.
Highly recommend all of them.
Yeah, what's the middle grade one again? Say that one.
It is Elizabeth.
She has a daughter. She needs to know for her.
I know. She's almost to middle grade. I need this information.
My son loves these. So we've listened to them all on audiobook, and whether it is appropriate to do murder mysteries with an 8-year-old, you can judge that yourself, but he really loves them. So Myrtle Hardcastle, Myrtle is the name of that protagonist, Myrtle Hardcastle by Elizabeth C. Bunce. And
she's writing down the name. She's doing it right now.
You can see, I don't know if you can tell, I was just writing it down because I'm going to look it up. And, you know, maybe not for 8, but maybe like 10. And like, my gosh, there aren't enough books in it. Like, the more books, the better. And anything to get kids reading. So
I don't know about you all, but I was always like reading inappropriate stuff where the librarian was like, does your mom know? And I was like, of course she does, and she approves. Like, no. She did not know my mom's books, when I was 12.
I love it.
It totally reminded me. And I had this over here again. One of the bookcases I told you is not very well organized, but it is right at the forefront. So there's actually the Mysterious Affair at Styles adaptation for children. I don't know if you've seen this popping around, but she did this adaptation and it's really beautifully illustrated. So I'm just going to hold it up so you can see the title page, author. So this is actually an Agatha Christie adaptation for children. So I'm just going to. You get to see the beautiful inside.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
So we're bringing Agatha Christie to the youth.
I love
the youths of America. They get to love. I mean, it's so cute. I mean, it's so well illustrated. I love the illustrator. So she actually has book 2 coming out. I need to get back to her because she messaged me on Instagram asking about book 2. And I'm going, okay, so it's Marcy K. Monson and it's illustrated by Greg. I'm going to totally butcher this name, but Paprocki. So this is Agatha Christie for children.
Amazing.
I was like, I love how I have this in arm's reach.
Comes to stay with me. I'm going to be the fun aunt, and then I'm going to get in big trouble because my sister's going to be like, really? You thought a murder mystery for a 3-year-old? Did think that.
Yes.
But technically speaking, we were interested. We had to get interested in murder mysteries at some point. I mean, I remember Murder, She Wrote. I don't even know what age I was, but I remember sitting on the couch and we're talking commercials, regular TV. I mean, I remember watching things where I'm going, oh, okay, this is normal. And I love Hallmark. And I remember being sick on the couch when I was probably in middle school watching Mystery Woman with Kelly Martin. And I was just so enthralled by these stories. I mean, even at young age, I mean, murder mysteries, again, with the cozy mystery, like, no gore, no on the page sex, it kind of can work for kids aside from the murder.
Yeah.
Aside from the murder, aside from all that, you know.
So Kate, what are some of your favorites that you're reading?
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite authors I love to shout out is another local author, Anne Claire, and she wrote Dead in Gondola. And it is amazing. If anybody likes locked room cozies, she did a locked room like mystery on a gondola, like a ski gondola. And it worked, and it was amazing. And then she has a new series that I really love as well. That's A Cyclist Guide to Crime and Croissants. So it takes place in France, and it's about a bicycle tour group who goes around, and they also eat croissants and yummy French pastries and solve crimes. Yes. Oh, good. You have it. Look,
I have everything. I love her.
Yeah.
I love
think
her book.
her next one is coming out like really soon. So I'm excited. So I love all of her stuff. I'm glad you had it. I know I have some there back on my bookcase, which is not nearly as organized either. And then let's see here. I also love the book Retreat Mysteries by Ellery Adams. I'm sure everybody's read those. Emmeline Duncan is one that comes to mind. She has her Fresh Ground series, I think is what it's called. Ground Rules. And it's in Portland, Oregon, which is kind of a cool setting, a little bit different. You mentioned Jen Chow. I love like Did a Death by Bubble to You. I got to talk about. And then let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many. But I'll tell Louise Penny has her new Inspector Gamache book coming out soon. Kind of cozy, not like that. Like I think is like the gateway drug to cozy.
There's one that I feel like walked gradually darker and darker. Like that Still Life, her first one is very cozy.
Yeah.
And then what was the last? Was it Grey Wolf? Was that the last one? No, The World of Curiosity is the last one I read, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. We are so far beyond cozies now. We are like fully into Dateline NBC in these books. Like it was hella dark. Yeah, but I still love them. I love the characters.
I know, but she still calls back to Three Pines, and like they're always eating brioche at that bistro, and it feels like elements of it still feel so cozy. But you're right; they are very dark, like darker mysteries. So.
It's interesting that the book series will start true cozy mysteries and then evolve beyond the subgenre, because you're also making me think of Carleen O'Connor with her Irish-based cozy mysteries, because I cannot think of the leading lady's name off the top of my head. I should know it. Actually, now that I'm saying this, I probably have it over here somewhere. So I do, behind the balloons. I clearly know this room very well when I'm like, I can just grab it from over there and over there. So we have Siobhan. That's the name of the leading lady. So she went from being an amateur sleuther to actually being on the police force. And as soon as you have an official, they're no longer an amateur, that's not technically a cozy mystery. I was trying to post content across platforms to showcase the subgenre. Of course, there's Murder, She Wrote. I had Agatha Raisin, and then I posted Sister Boniface for TV show. And I'm going, okay, well, technically speaking, she's employed by the police department, so she's not an amateur, but it has very cozy mystery. It has the same vibes, the same tropes, aside from the fact she's a professional. Same thing with Shakespeare and Hathaway. I'm going, they have the cozy vibes, but they are technically private investigators. So it's almost like cozy mystery with an asterisk of, okay, we have everything, but fill in the blank. So that's kind of where you mentioned this series getting darker.
I'm so glad you talked about this series, because I forgot about this series. Like I read maybe 3 of them years ago and loved them, and then I don't know what happened. I had a mini stroke or something, and I totally forgot. Probably what happened is I had it like reserved on Libby, and then my loan never came up or something.
Or life just happens. So that also occurs where life gets in the way and your reading suffers. Or you can be like me and be a mood reader. And so if you're not in the mood for something, it's going to go by the wayside, and then you're going to fall into another book, and you're going to forget about the thing that you originally picked up. So it's totally fine.
Yes, I'm going to add that back onto my Libby tonight, though, because
There are a lot of books in the series. This one's the 10th, so I don't know if, I mean, there are quite a few. She's been prolific as of late. Very Agatha, right? Prolific.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you're talking about the books that you love. I'm curious if there. I mentioned this before. I told them this was gonna be one of my questions. Your favorite cozy tropes, or something in the cozy mystery subgenre where you're going, I really love. I mean, clearly, I was gonna say you might love triangles. That's totally fine. You might love all the food references, all of the puns. If there's something that you just absolutely love as authors or as readers when it comes to cozy mysteries.
I love the locked room mysteries. I'm super. Gigi Pandian is another author that, I'm like skeleton and yeah, locked key I think is one of, but the staircase mysteries. I love a good locked room mystery, and I don't know, and I love red herrings. Like, surprise me, lead me down the wrong path, do it in a fair way where at the end I'm like, aha, it all makes sense. But like, I love those twisty, turny ones. I love a good red herring. And I love locked room mysteries, more of those.
See, now you have me curious. Is there a book series, and I'm trying to figure out how to word this because I feel as if giant spoiler alert needs to be plastered somewhere. I'm going, was there a book where you're going, they had the best red herring I've ever read and I loved it?
I know. A spoiler alert. Well, like Dead in Gondola was one. I had no idea who the bad person was, but it was, I was sold on one character was like gonna be fine, and like in a potential, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, right? Like, but that was one where there was a character where I was sure was in the safe, like in the clear. I was like, it could be any one of these people, but it is not that person. And then that was who did it, and it was like, what? And that was really fun.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I had the opposite thing happen with Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. That, like, the moment this character stepped onto the page, I was like, and you're the killer. And then I was right. And I still loved that book. That was one of my favorite reads of the year. Maybe that came out in 2023, whatever year that came out. That was one of my favorite reads of the year, because I just didn't care. Like, the characters were so great that the puzzle completely went by the wayside. And when I found out that character was the killer, I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, I think she did a pretty good job, like, planting other possible culprits. But just as a reader of mysteries, you know how you can sometimes pick up on people's tells, like the one that, you know, like the writer who always makes it the person you're least likely to suspect, or the writer who always likes to introduce the killer in the first couple chapters. And that just felt to me like one where I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's that person.
So you just reminded me, I watched Knives Out with my father, and I had already seen Knives Out. I love that movie. And we're watching it, and as soon as a certain character comes on and his very first lines of dialogue, he goes, oh, he did this. And I'm going, what? Did you know about this? I mean, did you know the story? And the way he just said that, and then he watched the movie, I'm going, okay, well, you figured out the bad guy early on, so what's the verdict? And he goes, oh no, I really enjoyed the movie. And so I thought, okay, well, you solved it, you're not gonna be able to enjoy the rest. But he thoroughly enjoyed it. He liked the jokes and everything else. So just because you might have figured it out, there's still other things to enjoy, which is also kind of cool when it comes to mystery novels. You're going, you have the overarching mystery, but there can be the side characters, the fun little jokes, obviously the pun titles when it comes to storefront names. There's other things that can entertain you along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say another trope that I like. I like food. And Mia Manansala, her first, the Arsenic and Adobo, I felt like I was just reading like a Fodar's restaurant guide or something like that, because it's like they're like every scene they're like eating a different type of cuisine, and I'm like, ooh, sushi, that sounds good. And then all the Filipino food, like that's just one that, like, if you like that trope, that's one for you.
Yeah. And I just saw this comment. There is a third Knives Out movie in the making. Yes, so there was The Glass Onion, but there is a third one. They've already been making it. I don't know when it's coming out, but I do know that they've been posting. It's something like Dead Man Walking. So there is a third Knives Out coming along. So watch party.
So excited. I love those movies.
Again, they remind me of very Agatha Christie. He's definitely got Perrault vibes going for him. Benoit Blanc. I think he is Perrault, but just with a Southern accent instead of the Belgian accent or the French accent. And then people are
quite so haughty.
But yes, Mia Monticello, she's very talented, and I know she now has a couple of young adult books that she's working on. So again, even if you write cozy mysteries, there's still other things that you can pursue. I think Carleen O'Connor, her latest book is actually just a full-on thriller. So, I mean, authors, you might love cozy mysteries, but there's still other things you might want to pursue at some point in time. Oh, the only Agatha Christie where you guessed the murderer correctly was Crooked House, but I still kept thinking that's surely not. So that's interesting. Solving an Agatha Christie is kind of like a nice little feather in your cap. Did you guys ever solve an Agatha Christie where you read it and you're going, this is the bad guy?
Very rarely, and that's why she's the queen. And I think for me, like my favorite Agatha is also the one that just blew my mind, like nobody's business. The murder of Roger Ackroyd, because I was pretty young when I read that, and I was less familiar with conventions, but it's still like I don't want spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it, but the identity of the killer is so such a twist on convention and so unexpected. And when you read it again, you're like, oh my gosh, she planted so many clues, to like the fact that she was leaving out key bits of information as she went along. But yeah, that is one that I just can't say enough good things about. I love that book.
That's my favorite too. And I'll never forget reading that last chapter and with the growing understanding as you read it and going, oh my gosh. And then she does the twist too on justice, because justice is always usually served, right? And like in this case, like it is, but not in a very cozy way. Like that is my favorite of hers as well. I don't know that I always tried. I would try, especially, she wrote like 66 detective novels under her name, Agatha Christie, because then there's also her like pseudonym, right? And like, but I've read every one time when I go to read one, I try really hard to keep track of all the clues and like where is everybody in the timeline, and I try to piece it together, and I never quite can. So bravo if you can do that.
Yeah.
Even when I solve it, I don't fully solve it. So the Mysterious Affair at Styles, there's a very obvious bad guy character, but then all of a sudden at the very end, there's more to the story. So you're going, okay, do I get like a 50% on this test? That's still failing. That's not a passing grade in school. So even if I have an inclination, I don't get all the way there. So there's always a little piece that I overlooked, or evidence, or another character who's in the mix. So it's impressive when someone solves an Agatha Christie with a full-on, yes, I know who did it and I know why. So piecing that all together is definitely, I have these little party poppers and I'm so tempted. Okay.
Do it.
I'm going to do it. You're ready? It's going to pop. Let's see if I can do this.
Woo!
Solved an Agatha Christie with a party popper. I told her I was prepared for her birthday.
Have you seen The Princess Bride?
Of course.
The scene where the iocane powder poisoning scene where they're sitting at the table and he's like, well, knowing you, I know that you would poison, you wouldn't put it in your, so like he totally outfoxes himself. And 99% of the time that's me with an Agatha Christie, that I feel like in the ABC murders, she introduces this totally obvious character that like, and puts all the suspicion and blame on him. Oh, there we go. Yeah, the ABC killer. And from pretty early on, you're like, well, it can't possibly be that person because it's just too obvious. Like every clue points to them. So clearly it's not them. And yet I was second guessing myself the whole time. And then I'm like picking other characters and I'm like, I'm going to feel so dumb though if it was him, because it's like, that's where all the, every single clue points to. And it would be hilarious. It would be very expected and yet unexpected of her to be like, hey, that guy you thought it was all along, it's him.
Yeah, it's like a psychological game, right? Where you're like, it's them, but it can't be them because then I would have guessed it and I can't have guessed it. So it's gotta be, it's like, yeah.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia. That's a Princess Bride reference in case anybody doesn't know that, but also really good advice in real life.
Well, you're also reminding me when it comes to Agatha Christie, there are those SS Van Dyne's rules for writing mysteries, and she breaks them repeatedly. And it's so entertaining when you go back and look at his list and you're like going, okay, the bad guy can't be the detective. We've had that. Justice needs to be served. Okay, that's been questionable over there. She goes through and she flips them around, and yet somehow they still work. You're still happy as the reader. And that's, I mean, breaking convention and doing it very well. That's why she's the queen. That's why we celebrate her birthday. That's why 135 years later, we're still talking about this woman.
I also think character building, like she's under discussed in terms of her character building, because when you think of a cast like Murder on the Orient Express, there are how many, like a dozen probably suspects in that. It's just an insane amount of characters. And yet every single one is just a banger. Like I still remember, like the fancy Russian princess and like the young, widow, and like that, she just in just a few paragraphs with just a bit of dialogue manages to nail somebody so that you can picture them and you can hear them talking in your head. Like she's a real master of that.
Absolutely. And how they all relate to each other too, especially in that book. Like you slowly figure out, but the way that's a great example.
Yeah, and that's when it should be absurd. Like if in lesser hands, it would be ridiculous that you'd be like, oh, come on, like how does this all fit together? And there's just too many clues and whatever, but like can keep track of everybody, keep track of their motives, keep track of the clues, because she's just so good.
And then she sucks you in immediately with the mystery of, Poirot gets kind of accidentally put on the train because they didn't want him to be there. And so there's people who are a little bit more like, oh, what are you doing here? And you're immediately curious, like, what's going on here? Like, what's up with this train? It was, yeah.
Well, even then, you're kind of making me realize the succinct nature of her stories, because she typically was 50,000 words, and now most mysteries are 70,000 words or more. So the fact that she did things so well with such a limited word count, that adds to being so impressive when you're saying exactly which character was which. So however she described them in that moment and it stuck with you, she was able to do it in a way that, again, it's just masterful, because if you can have two sentences and that character can stick with you and that's all you need, I mean, that's kind of incredible. I mean, but these books are not that thick. I mean, you can see how small some of them look with their spines. So to be that memorable with that few words, like, all the applause to her.
Maybe not as many food descriptions as in some of the modern day cozies, huh?
Tea. Like a cat in everyone. So that's
and a cat subplot.
See the little face on him. I was going, I know he usually has his cups of tea. I know Miss Lemon usually brings him his tea. So maybe we'll get the tea descriptions. But aside from that, yeah, we're not really getting our donuts and pizza, which I also But I am curious. So the Murder of Roger Ackroyd was your favorite. So do you have a favorite adaptation when it comes to Agatha Christie? Because you're mentioning mostly Poirot titles here. Doesn't really seem to be any Miss Marple references going on. Or any other of her, like, where is he? Parker Payne investigates, and you have the two pence and Tupper. Why couldn't I say that for a second? Tongue twister there. Oh, this is why you need the mug full with the cozy thing. There you go. So what else is there? Is the Poirot TV series, Poirot movie? Are you a Kenneth Branagh? Are you David Suchet? I'm curious because you guys are talking about Poirot. What's your favorite adaptation of her for her Agatha?
Yeah, I'm a Poirot girl. I Miss Marple's great, but I like the Poirot better. The little gray cells, and just he's so, I don't know, the mustache, and just that he's so imperfect in his pursuit of perfection. I don't know. And yeah, my favorite adaptation, I love the more recent ones, Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile. I thought they were just so fun and glamorous, and I don't know. It was just those are my favorite. I've had a lot of fun watching those recently.
So you're a Kenneth Branagh Perot fan.
Yeah. Yes.
So I am also Team Poirot, and I feel bad for poor Miss Marple, but I liked the train
Give her a
one.
shout out. We'll give the body in the
Paddington.
library a shout out there.
Yes, yeah, I like the 450 to Paddington where she sees the murder. Like that was, or I actually don't think it was her who sees her. Somebody sees a murder. That was a great one. But on the whole, I am Poirot, and I am classic David Suchet Poirot in that way. So yeah, no big excitement or surprises. And I also like the Kenneth Branagh, except I did not like A Death in Venice. Did you see that one?
I have not watched that one yet. I heard mixed things though, a little bit about that one.
It wasn't for me. It was too there was too much horror, and I just found it a little like, I don't know, the other ones to me were more in that classic vein of like that starry cast where you just want to see them like eat up the scenery. And that one to me just a little bit creepy and a little bit kind of gross, frankly. Like I just didn't, it wasn't for me.
It almost had a supernatural component at times, which was also a little peculiar because that's not really Agatha Christie. It was funny because again, I've been trying to get my dad into Agatha Christie stuff, so I had him watch that one. He's going, no, this one wasn't, no. So he just kind of dismissed it like that was the end of the conversation. And I loved the first one with Kenneth Branagh. I was a big fan of that adaptation. I mean, again, I will be honest, David Suchet, he is my Perot. Where is it? I have a little figurine over here of David Suchet. I mean, he is my guy. I love him. But I did like the Kenneth Branagh adaptations, and I do think it's kind of nice that you can look at them separately and go, I just heard the dog make a little barking noise, like, yeah, David Suchet is Perot. I'm going, thank you, Daisy. She agrees. But I like that you have the same story adapted two different ways, because Perot TV show, they did the adaptation as well. And I love both of them, and I love them for different reasons, but they're both so well done. It's the same story. I mean, it's not as if one is better than the other. They're a little different, same story, but I'm engrossed. It doesn't matter that I've seen them both multiple times. I will still watch it again.
I'm very excited for Agatha Christie to go out of copyright, which will be soon, because I feel like with things like Jane Austen, you know, like the fact that it's out of copyright opened up this whole world of like super fun adaptations that are, you know, like Clueless and 10 Things I Hate About You and like all of these other.
Oh, Jane Austen, do we say?
Yes, I just love it. Yeah, but you know, like all of the things that you can do with those characters and that material, once you can take it out and really do like, I don't know, is there like a romantasy with Poirot and Marple? Maybe. Poirot's a dragon. I don't know.
If you could do a romantasy inspired by Agatha Christie, I would be so excited as the reader. I would be your PR person for free. I would be promoting this book. I would be so there for that. That'd be amazing.
I'm going to do one of those where it's like the creature ones where it's like I'm in love with the Mothman, but somehow it's also Agatha Christie. And then there's like weird creatures, weird creature romance.
So it looks like people in the comments are loving David Suchet, and then Kenneth Branagh is your least favorite Perot, and you love David Suchet, but I'm pulling this up because we haven't talked about Peter Ustinov yet. We haven't talked about him. There are also a couple other little adaptations. Up above, someone also mentioned, where is she? The Geraldine McEwen Marple. So, have you seen this Marple adaptation? Because I have so many questions and thoughts when it comes to this one. I loved the Geraldine versions. I understand for reasons she had to step back from the role and another actress had to come in. But my biggest question was this particular TV series kind of made me feel like I was going batty sometimes, because the very final episode for Marple, she's in Endless Night. And I'm watching this going, she's not in this one, is she? Because I read Endless Night and I'm going, this isn't a Marple. Is this a Marple? I was watching this TV show episode and I was so stinking confused. And it turns out they were putting Marple in stories that did not have Miss Marple. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, because this show was on before I really was of the age where I could be watching Miss Marple. It wasn't until probably 5-10 years ago when I watched all the Miss Marples and fell into the Miss Marple, TV show fandom. So I'm kind of catching up on these commenters. I mean, there are some Reddit things where they're talking about, hey, Miss Marple was not in this one, or in Moving Finger, how she's barely in it. So I'm curious if you've seen the show and what you guys thought of the Marple adaptations.
I have not seen those, but I'm gonna add them to my list. Maybe are they?
They're not bad. It was just I had read Endless Night, and I'm going, did I miss the Miss Marple references? It was making me question my sanity. Going, did I miss something here?
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen those, and I didn't realize. I guess I didn't realize that they put her in something that she wasn't in because I hadn't read that one, so I didn't clock that. But I do like the Geraldine McEwen ones, and it's funny. Like, I wonder how old do they ever say how old Miss Marple is in the books?
I don't really think they give a specific age. I think you're just supposed to know she's of the older generation, or
one thing I think is funny about, like,
silver
books
hair.
of that era is they'll like describe an elderly lady and she's like 54. Like, I want to know. I'm going to look this up now. Like, how old was Miss Marple? Because Geraldine McEwen, she looks like a woman of like 80. But I'm wondering if it was like that she's genuinely like 60 years old.
Wasn't that a Golden Girls thing that came out recently? Like, the Golden Girls are not as old as they look. Like, they're...
Well, I mean, Sophia, the actress, never was that age. I mean, that was always the one. But yeah, B. Arthur and Rue McClanahan. Yeah, I think that came out. But
they retired to Florida when they were about 60. Like that show starts and they're like about 60. So Miss Marple was in her 70s, so that's fine. I'm accepting of that. That makes me happy.
I accept that.
Yes.
Oh no, I lost you. How did I lose you? There we go.
Nope.
Okay, I switched to I was gonna go to a different setting to pull up all the images because I have to have images for the Golden Girls. So let's see if I switch this again. There we go. I was going to go pull up the Golden Girls images because I have multiple ones with Sophia when she's trying to scare people with her knife, and all of a sudden, no, I won't have a good day. I have all the Golden Girl references, but apparently StreamYard does not want me to showcase them.
Have you read the new Golden Girls mysteries? I have not yet read those, but those look very fun.
I personally, this is where I feel like I have my own little opinions. That to me would feel like fan fiction, and since it's not the original creators, and I love the way the actors breathe life into those characters, I don't know if it would live up to it, and I would feel badly putting those expectations onto someone else's story. If I had not seen this show with every single episode 10 times, I would probably pick up the book and be okay. But the fact that I'm so familiar with these women and how they eat their cheesecake, how they talk, I don't want to take those expectations and be unfair to the author and go, yeah, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to enjoy the story since I know the show so well. So I deliberately haven't. But people who have read it seem to enjoy it.
All right, I'll screen it for you and I'll let you know if it's Golden Girls, because I'm very curious. The cover is just so cute.
It is adorable, and it looks like such a fun premise. I think they're on a cruise or something. I mean, it looks like a really fun read, but because I've seen the show so many times, and I love B. Arthur, her delivery, her facial expressions. I mean, it's hard to get that in a book because you're thinking of B. Arthur the whole time, and if they're not true to this character, you're going, oh, 3 stars in your head, even though it's a 5-star read.
I'm trying to think if there's another sitcom that I'd want to see them solve mysteries. Like, definitely not Seinfeld. They would be terrible at it. They would not succeed.
Well, Frasier, they actually attempted a couple of times with their, I don't know if I've seen these shows one too many times where they had their little growing up there, writing their stories with the Crane Boys. So some sitcoms have had fun. Even Golden Girls, there's an episode where they're at the murder mystery dinner party. So they'll do little tributes every so often, but
like Gilmore Girls, Stars Hollow, right? Like, there's the fake chalk outline in that episode when Jess plays a joke, and it's so amazing because they have like the one police officer comes and like, all right, everybody, go do a head count. I want to see like, but I guess Stars Hollow is sort of the typical like cozy mystery villain.
I know. I'd actually love to see that. That's one that I would love to see.
Well, they are celebrating 25 years of Gilmore Girls, so maybe they could do that.
That would be amazing.
I mean, honestly, that would be better than the sequel that we got. Just saying. If you want to kill somebody, even if it's one of the leads, I might be okay with that at this point. Oh, yes, I just saw this comment. Angela Lansbury did play Miss Marple. I think it was in The Mirror Cracked Side to Side. I'm pretty sure that's the one. Also, that's one of those ones that blew my mind because I didn't realize, I had to look into this, how she was inspired by an actress and this was based on a real life situation. I'm going, Agatha, what do you, I mean, it just puts things into context. But I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious now. I would love
singles.
I'd love to see a Gilmore Girls cozy mystery, murder mystery. That would be fun. Are one of you doing fan fiction for Wattpad anytime soon?
Oh man, Gilmore Girls fan fiction, sign me up.
What about Elf? Elf would be a good one too.
Like Parks and Rec would be pretty funny.
Ooh.
They try and catch that one kid with a peach pit at one point, and like it goes horribly wrong, and he sneaks in, and like they would be the ones who like wouldn't quite, I don't know.
That would be like and then there were none that they just like keep getting killed off because they're so inept.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that would be.
That kid was kind of an evil genius because he has a fake mom come bail him out. Like he hired someone from Craigslist to play his mom so he wouldn't be in trouble at home, and his actual mom knows that he does this. That kid would be, I mean, it's incredible. There's a moment with that episode with Leslie Knope where someone says it looks like a serial killer is doing stuff. She goes, yeah, I'll take that. That means dedication. Like she took it in stride. So there's a lot they could do with that because she definitely would do that murder board. She would be great at that. I can totally see her going to Michael's, getting everything you can need. Oh, I just saw this one. Could you imagine Michael and Billy trying to solve a mystery? Well, technically, someone was killed in Savannah, so
it's the Strangler, right? The Scranton Strangler. Everybody thinks it's Toby. Like they.
The fan theory.
Conspiracy. Well, and like at one point, Michael accidentally hit somebody with a car. I feel like they would be the ones who are like trying to cover up an accidental murder and do an awful job at it. And be Jim and Pam having to like figure it out.
Oh, Meredith, wrong place, wrong time.
I know.
I like that I know exactly what you're talking about from Parks and Rec to The Office. Like I know the exact episode.
That was really good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining us for Cozy Mystery Day. I'm so glad you stumbled upon our cozy corner of the world over here. I'm so glad that you're enjoying our conversation. And oh, that's so funny. I'm going, I don't know what the YouTube algorithm, I will never understand it. And I'm okay with that. But I'm very glad it sent you our way and you're able to enjoy this.
So ironically, when I'm up at 2 a.m., there's this BBC documentary about canal boats. And the last 3 episodes have all been in Sweden. So I'm watching like weird canal boat Swedish programming while you're watching me do this.
Dare I ask, how did we stumble upon this? What words are we Googling?
Agatha Christie! It's the most random party ever.
I mean, it's thank you for joining.
For me, I don't know. I mean, it's like the algorithm knows that I'm an insomniac and I like boring TV in the middle of the night so that I can fall back to sleep. So it suggested this canal boat program, and it is right. I love this canal boat program.
See, you're doing the right thing with insomnia. I just, however, end up watching the same things over and over again. So that's why I know Parks and Rec and The Office so well.
Same.
I just end up over 2 a.m. and I'll be watching The Middle for some reason, even though I know every line Suhak is about to say. I will still be watching that with my insomnia. So yours is more productive. I would like to be yours.
If I ever find myself in a Swedish canal, I'm going to know exactly what to do. That's kind of cool. And when we were on the YouTube front page, thank you. Like, thank you, YouTube. That's kind of a nice little perk. I'm going, that's really exciting. I'm glad we were recommended, your recommended video page. I feel honored, and I'm so happy you clicked on and joined us for Agatha Christie and her Cozy Mystery Celebration. Oh,
I'm kind of honored. I'm like, oh, YouTube, you did me what you did right tonight. Thank you. I mean, honestly, between sometimes uploads take forever. Things will get deleted randomly. You'll type a caption and it'll go away. You have to type it again. So I'm glad YouTube was doing well. And I'm glad we haven't had any tech issues. I'm like, thank you, YouTube.
Oh, you jinxed it, Angela.
I know. I'm like, that's why I'm like, go for your
wood.
spouse, knock on wood, please. But yeah, I'm like, thank you, YouTube. I like this. I haven't been on a canal boat. It's so cute. I think I've asked you some, like, all the questions I've pre-written. Your Agatha, well, I do have. So we know your favorite is Roger Ackroyd, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. But what was your first Agatha Christie read? We haven't talked about that. What made you read Agatha Christie?
You know, I think my first one was probably Death on the Nile when I was really young. But that was when I was reading them from my mom's bookshelf, right? The one that I remember was my first one this was like 10 or 15 years ago. And I made it a goal to read all of Agatha Christie's books in 1 year. I'm an avid reader. I did not make it. I made it through a lot. And then I like reading other genres and other books too much. And so I started mixing them back. And I think I got to like 40 though. Like I did pretty good. But that year I read Peril at End House was one of the first ones I read for that challenge. And that was such a cool one. And it just sticks in my mind now as like one of the first ones I read. And that was when I was writing too. And so I read it from like that writing perspective, which is always a little bit different too. But yeah.
That's a good one. I really liked that particular story. That was one of those twisty and turny ones that I was never going to guess the ending to. That one took me by surprise, and she broke SS Van Dyne's rules again. That's one of the perfect examples of breaking the rules of mystery and making it work.
So for me, it was Murder on the Orient Express, and a librarian gave it to me probably because she was like, you need to stop reading this trash. Like, here, read this instead.
But define, what was the trash? What were you reading? I mean,
I was reading a lot of like romance and like, do you remember the V.C. Andrews books that are
Flowers in the Attic?
Yeah, like super spicy garbage, you know, like real spicy for whatever age I was. So that's the kind of thing that I was reading then. And a lot of romance books because that was what was on my grandmother's, like the ones with Fabio, you know, like where Fabio is the model and everyone shirtless Fabio, and then he's like a pirate and he's a cowboy and whatever else.
And we're going
So that was my grandmother's entire bookshelf was like romance with Fabio on the cover. So there are a lot of those.
You mean like these?
Exactly. Like
I love a good romance.
Yeah.
Yes, I can just go grab them because I have multiple shelves filled with them.
Yes,
like, you need your bodice
exactly.
rippers.
Yes. I just found one actually that was like something with like a pirate thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that pirate thing.
And then you found Agatha Christie.
Yes.
I mean, she doesn't really do a lot of romance. She'll have some relationships, but not really the main focus of the narrative.
I've liked though how lately there's more allowance for like within the cozy genre. There was just one that came out called She Doesn't Have a Clue last year. That's like got some quite spicy scenes, but it's just like a traditional romance or a traditional mystery in other ways, and pretty cozy. You know, that's like a closed circle of characters. It's funny, and I think there's just getting to be that cozy plus kind of genre, and for some people that plus is going to be romance. So I think that's kind of fun to see that Finley Donovan and like that ilk of book where they're adding some new elements to cozies.
It's interesting that you say that because within romance, they now have cozy romance, and Lori Gilmore, she has these book covers that are absolutely adorable, and they look like cozy mysteries. They really do, with their sort of very sweet hometown covers, pun titles, animals in the corner, lots of food references. But those are definitely not cozy mysteries. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not going to be on Hallmark Channel. But it's a cozy romance. So that's been kind of dubbed and floating around the online bookish world. So it's interesting to see romance over here, cozies over here, and where are they overlapping now? We shall see. I'm going, but are you going to write one of those? Are you going to be doing a cozy romance or a romance cozy or something?
I actually am.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I have a contract for a new series that I'm going to start. I'm finishing the 6th book in this series, and then I'm going to put a pin in it. And hopefully it will still be there for me. If it continues to sell well, I think they'll do more. But I'm putting a pin in it for like a year. And I'm going to do this new series. The first book is called Winona Wild Has Killer Instincts. And it's going to be, it's a behavioral scientist who solves mysteries. And she was raised at a tiger rescue and uses some of her behavioral science tricks, both from her education and from that informal education that she got growing up, to solve this mystery. So I'm calling it Science and Tigers and Heirs. Oh my. Because there's an inheritance portion too. But yeah, that's going to be in not till 2027, because I am still writing that one, and that won't even get to my editor until next spring.
Okay, I love this premise, and I have another party popper over here. I want to do one for you because that sounds amazing. I love that premise so much. That party popper, it's smoking. It's like, that's an amazing premise, and I cannot wait to read that.
All right, exciting. Yeah, so that one's going to be a little bit spicier. We'll see how spicy it gets because I haven't written it yet. So I told them, I'm like, there's going to be at least like one chili pepper, on the story graph. At least one chili pepper, maybe two. We'll see.
Maybe two.
Yeah.
I love it. That sounds so fun. I have something I'm going to work. I've dubbed this fall my Fantasy Girl Fall. I'm going to work on a cozy fantasy because I love fantasies, and I have this idea for one that's it's a magical greenhouse, and also Gilmore Girls, but a little bit Ocean's 11. And yeah, I know it's a very random mishmash, but like I want to do like that's what it's gonna be.
That's how I feel like mine is too. Mine is like every idea I've ever had for a book, and then in this book.
Yeah. It's gonna work, right?
I was like, I already did the party popper, but I'm like, wee. So I was trying to do this before. So we have balloons. So I was gonna do like a balloon drop. So for that premise, you get a balloon drop because honestly, I love it. So all the balloons for you.
Thank you.
I was like, maybe I can make this larger so you can see these balloons are yours now. So you have the rose gold, and this one has confetti in it. So I love the premise for these stories. I cannot wait to read these, even though they haven't been written yet.
Yeah, I cannot wait to write them. That's
so fun, because like you're right, I do love the way that cozies have sort of been overlapping with all these other genres. It's super exciting, especially as an author, but also as a reader, because I've been totally eating up all of these little cozy fantasies and the cozy romances, because I read that Laurie Gilmore one too, and like they're just it's so fun to read these cozy vibes, but with slightly different genres, and I love it.
Well, when you mentioned fantasy, the first thing I thought of was Legends and Lattes.
Yeah.
I almost said, is it Lattes and Legends? No, it's Legends and Lattes. But that has the same sort of fantastical components, but coziness mixed in. So I'm so excited. I'm like, these haven't even been written. I'm going, I need to read these. Please get writing. Yay. I'll send caffeine your way to keep you motivated.
Yeah.
People in the comments, they're excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So those are what you're currently going to be working on, but what's next in regards to, you have another book coming out, Mindy. So that one's coming out very soon, right?
Yeah, and on October 28th. And then I just got a tentative scheduling date for the 6th book, because I think it's now far enough along that they trust them actually to finish it on time. That one is scheduled for November of next year. So it'll be another year, and then the 6th book will come out. And that one is tentatively titled Murder in the Upper Crust, which at the moment the marketing department seems to be going for. So hopefully that'll stick.
Love it.
That's a great title.
Okay.
And then is there any more Parker on the horizon? Maybe? No?
So I do have one plotted out for book 5, but I will see. I have so many other projects though in the pipeline, nothing slated to release at the moment, but stay tuned. I wrote a rom-com last year that I'm playing around with. It was a foodie rom-com. and we'll see what happens. Anyway, I've got lots of stuff, but no definitive dates right now.
Well, is there any chance you might self-publish it? I mean, so we can get it sooner?
There is, I've been considering it a little bit more, and so we'll see. And you'll be the first to know, Angela. I'll send you a DM. I'm gonna do it because I know you're like a romance girly too. And
there are a lot of books over there that are romance, and there's also a reason why I was able to just grab these, and Jane Austen was right there. There's a reason why these are within arm's distance. I mean, yes, there are a lot of cozy mysteries. It's hysterical. There is a tour video coming. So this side of the room is all romance. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bookcases that are all romance. And over here, we have the same amount that are all mysteries. So clearly my heart has 2 favorites.
No, I love that.
And mine and Kate's book can go on the new bookshelf that is the in-between.
Yeah.
Well, so
perfect.
I'm gonna move my balloons because again, you guys get to see all the balloons that I have for Agatha Christie's birthday. So I actually have, and I need to buy a new one. So I have a bookcase where we have authors I've interviewed and featured. So I need to now, because after tonight, I'm going to have to move you guys to the top right there. Right now you guys are over in the other bookcase because we've read you for the Cozy Mystery Book Club, but I might have to get duplicates so that I have you represented in both bookcases.
So fun.
There's a lot going on in this room. Very busy.
Bookish room. I love it.
But I know I do have the little, where'd it go? I have your books over here somewhere because I was going to show them. And now things have gotten awry. So they've gone missing. And I also do know that the dog was in here as I was preparing for tonight. So there's a very good chance I put it down over there when I was getting her a treat. So both of your books, I had them, but I will just pull up the graphics because there they are. So the first book is Killer Chardonnay for the Colorado Wine Mystery. Mindy was saying I didn't have a Bostonian accent before, but maybe I do. And then over here, where did it go? I have the same graphic. Oh, I lost it. Where did it go? I have one for Mindy's book series over here. So where did my deep dish one go? I know I have the graphic, but I'm losing it. But the first one in your series is 6 Feet Deep Dish. And I know I have the graphic featuring yours, and I'm somehow not finding it, mostly because I have so many of Perot over here. And these are getting lost in the mix. Yes, I have him and his mustache doing all sorts of stuff. And the fact that these are mostly David Suchet should also tell you where my little heart lies. But I have all of their information in the description box, and I'm just going to pull it up briefly. So this way people know where to find you. So would you like to tell people where they can find you online or where they can stay up to date for all of their cozy mystery news, that when you do publish these romances and fantasies and all these other amazing titles, they know exactly where to look to get their news?
Yeah, Instagram is my favorite. That's like my happy place. I do post pictures of my family. So you'll see that in some of our travels. I mix in with book news and things like that. But yeah, Instagram is the best place at KM Lansing. I do have a website as well. I saw that was pulled up. So I try and update that. But really, Instagram is probably best. I do have a Facebook page as well. But Instagram's my happy place, though. That's where I like to live.
Yeah, same. I like to do goofy videos. We were talking about that before y'all came on, that I have a lot of bizarre videos on my Instagram. So Instagram Reels, if you like to be entertained with my nonsense. And I'm also on Facebook. And then I just started an author newsletter because I'm like that weird author who didn't have an author newsletter up until a couple months ago, when finally I was like, you know what? It seems like every other author has an author newsletter. Let me do that. So that's a good place to sign up now, because I'll be doing some giveaways in the run up to my new book coming out. So if you want like the latest hot dish, that's where to find it. And you can sign up through my website, mindyquigley.com.
So I don't think your videos are nonsense. I think they're hysterical. Before we went live, I was telling her one of her videos, it lives rent-free in my head. I love this video where she is pretending to be the Southern Texas lady, and the outfit you have on, I want to know, where did you find this? How did you think of this? I love everything about this video because she just has such a great sense of humor. And so I will randomly think about this. The other day I saw someone with a cowboy hat. And instead of thinking of my country music references, because I listen and love country music, I thought of you and your videos. So you, again, pop right in my head.
Yeah, so that costume, I went on Buy Nothing. It's a Facebook group that a lot of towns have where people just give away free things. And I put in a request and I was like, does anyone have a cowboy costume I can borrow? Because I'm flying to Texas for this event at Murder by the Book, which is a big bookstore in Houston. And this one woman wrote back and she was like, I do. You might want to come over to the house though and see which one you want. And I was like, wait, you have multiple cowboy costumes? And oh my gosh. So she used to, well, she still does drama, like theater stuff locally. And she also makes costumes. And her collection is incredible. So she went in her closet and she pulled down one of those like really huge Tupperwares. And it said cowboy and Viking hats. And it was just like, that's all it was. It was like 10 different kinds of cowboy hats and 10 different kinds of Viking hats. So I found that one that was like the most outlandish of all of the cowboy possibilities and picked that one just because I thought, you know, if I'm going for like maximum hilarity, that one for sure won.
I was like, and you nailed it if you were going for that. That's incredible. I love that she had multiple versions of
yes. And now she and I are friends because she was like, I'm kind of embarrassed about this. And I'm like, no, you're the coolest person I've ever met. Like you are my spirit animal. I love you so much. Like instant love.
That's amazing. I love that you're like, I'm going to keep you now. You are in my life. I'm not losing this connection.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I need you in my life because of the whimsy that you bring.
That is so cute. And it is on her Instagram. I believe that's where I saw it. It wasn't on TikTok. It was on Instagram. I'm losing track with all of the social media platforms. But I believe in the Instagram stories, I featured both of you. I've linked your account so people can click over. I have all of their information down below in the description box. So please follow them because I want you to know when these stories are written. I'm going to be waiting for these. My TBR now has books that are not even written yet. So we're entering a whole new level of reader love. A whole new level.
At least they take up less space on the bookcase when they haven't been written.
That's the other thing, right? I mean, I have so many physical books. There are digital books and audio books. We're not even going down that road. But now we're adding books that haven't even been written. So there's a whole nother medium and level happening.
Love it.
That's the other fun part. I don't think I've mentioned this before. This is my level. I told you guys I love their books. I have them in paperback, audio, and ebook. All of their books. in all of the mediums. So we have a hardcore fan. So just throwing that out there. Aww. And I love the audio adaptation for both of your books. I love the narrators. They do a wonderful job. So if you are an audiobook listener, I do recommend both of their books on audio.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you, Angela.
Just wanted to mention that. Just wanted to throw that out there. Because again, I've actually read them and listened to them. So when I say I've read the stories, I've read the stories. But so we know what's happening next for you. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Somewhere else you want people to find you? Anything else about Agatha Christie you wanted to touch on? Because you guys are so much fun. I have all these official questions. I don't have to ask them. I just have a conversation with you guys because you're so easy to converse with. So I did want to take a moment to ask if there was something else you wanted to add.
I just wanted to thank you for having me on. I remember you approached me a couple months ago about this, and I was like, yes, like, you know, like as quickly as I could type because I was so excited about this. Just because I love you, I love your newsletter, I love the YouTube channel. Talk about easy to talk to, like you just make it so fun. And you plus Agatha Christie, I was like, I will be there.
Oh, thank you. I'm wearing foundation, so I don't know if you can see how pink my cheeks are getting. Thank you.
Yeah, same, Angela. I just want to, thank you so much and for hosting this and for thinking of celebrating the birth of Cozy Mysteries and Agatha Christie and inviting me to be a part of it.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who showed up today. Yeah, there was some great fun comments and some really good ideas for sitcom spinoffs with
It's so fun.
As if you didn't already have enough ideas for future books to write. You're going, and there's this, and there's that.
Yeah.
And now I need 25 hours in a day because now my insomnia with the canals. Okay, we got to get these books written. So much to think about and consider. You're so sweet. No, I'm so appreciative of you taking the time out of your day to talk about Agatha Christie and your cozy mysteries. I have another image because I love their profile photos too. They're so sweet in their photos. I have all the graphics. I really went to town because I was so happy that both of you said yes. And I was so just excited. And I'm so glad that you did this tonight. And you really are so easy to talk to and talk with. So I'm so happy that you said yes and you joined me tonight. And I do have all of their information in the description box. I included it in the newsletter. I will include it again across social media platforms because if you aren't following them and you haven't read your books, I highly recommend you do. But if there's any and so I'm just thank you so much for doing this tonight. I am so appreciative of you taking the time to talk about Agatha Christie and your books. And I really do hope if people haven't read them yet, they add them to the TBR because I highly recommend, and I do say they are worth reading. And we also have all the Cozy Mystery Book Club live stream discussions. Both of the conversations about your books are on the YouTube channel and podcast episodes. So wherever people like cozy mysteries, they can listen to all of the deep dish and killer Chardonnay love. So I do know that as well. And I almost forgot, all of the comments tonight will be entered automatically for a giveaway. So again, in honor of Agatha Christie, the Fill It Up Bright series actually focuses on Agatha Christie's maid, which is kind of amazing. So the books are set in Agatha Christie's world. At Colleen Cambridge got very creative when you talked about the copyright with Agatha Christie. She nailed this, having Agatha-esque, but not quite Agatha. So all of your comments tonight are going to be gathered, and one winner will be randomly selected to win a paperback of 2 Truths and a Murder. So everyone who commented, I wish you the best of luck, and I will make the announcement probably in the next YouTube live stream at the end of the month, which is so incredible that we have, I cannot believe we're in September, that we only have a few more live streams for the book club, but I will make the announcement as soon as I can. So if you commented tonight, please be on the lookout for that because you might just win a title. So, but if there's anything else you want to add, now is the time. Anything you want to say, Mindy, Kate, before we sign off?
Just goodbye and good night and happy birthday, Agatha.
No. Yay, Cozy Mystery Book Club. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining, for Kate and Mindy, all the shout outs and love for them. And thank you for everyone who's watched tonight. Please stay safe, kind, and creative. And as always, happy reading, writing, and sleuthing. Bye, everyone.
Bye.